Hey business warriors, and welcome to the Business Shifu show. I must apologize, there's a big concrete truck parked outside, but he's not moving, so I'm going to record anyway. And today we are talking about how to get rich quick. Now this isn't some get rich quick scheme. Well, actually it is, but you'll see what I mean. So we're talking about how to increase your income fast, okay? And first of all, we'll talk about some ways that you won't increase your income fast, and then talk about one way that I believe is the best way to get big increases in income. The traditional way that a lot of people say how the average man can get rich is just by investing some of their paycheck each month and being really disciplined about it, investing in the stock market, and then over like 30, 40 years, you'll eventually have like $1 million by the time you're 50 or something like that, okay? And that's kind of getting rich slow. And yeah, that's not gonna work for us, okay? We wanna increase our income quickly. So then you think about getting a job, okay? What if you go to university and you get a really good job and you become rich? Well, university, it's like 4 years, or perhaps could even be maybe 6 years if you do a master's, or then you go on to do a PhD or whatever, and you'll end up over $100,000 in debt. And then you go and get a job. And let's say the first problem with working for someone else, right, getting a job at a company, is that the amount of money you get is determined by the labor market, okay? It's not really determined by your effort. Now, of course, if you are a star employee, you're more likely to get pay raises or whatever, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But first of all, let's just talk about the idea that the wage is set by the market. So let's take the example of a computer software engineer. The about average wage for computer engineers is $102,000 in the US at the moment, okay? That's the average wage. Of course, some get paid more. I know a guy who's a computer engineer and he's got a PhD and he's getting like $300,000, but the average is apparently around $102,000. So that's set by the market, and you're not really going to get much more than that, okay? But then, obviously, every year your pay is going to increase. Now, I was looking at data about pay raises, and there was an article in The Balance. They had this interesting infographic that shows that in 2018, the average pay raise is about 3%. It's not even that high above inflation. Really outstanding employees can expect between 4.5 and 5%, and in some cases a pay raise could be up to 10%, okay? So year on year you could, if you were right at the top, at the maximum, hope to increase your pay by about 10% each year, okay? If you're going from $102,000, you're going to around 112,000 or 112,000 a few hundred, okay? That's not making you rich quickly. That's just small increases. And you've got the $100,000 worth of student loans that you've got to pay off. Now, so that's kind of like the disadvantages of a job. But think about training. What if you really are top of your field in something? Well, there is quite an interesting rule of the 10,000 hour rule, okay, which comes from Malcolm Gladwell. He wrote a book called Outliers, and it was based on someone else's research, but he basically came up with this 10,000 hour rule, which means that you have to do 10,000 hours of something, a particular skill or academic subject or whatever, learning something, until you can really be considered a master. And he said, well, it's 20 hours a week for 10 years. It works out about 10,000 hours. And he gives examples of the Beatles. They played 1,200 shows in Hamburg. Did well over 10,000 hours of playing music together before they became a very famous pop band. Then you've got Bill Gates, who started computer programming when he was 13 and was always on computers, and he did over 10,000 hours and he created Microsoft. So he gives a few examples. I think this rule, we'll talk about it in detail in another video because it's actually quite interesting. Some people criticize it. There are criticisms of it. It's not an absolute thing, but certainly becoming incredible at a certain skill can lead to big success because people will then pay you a lot of money for your expertise or your skills or whatever. But don't forget, you had to spend 10 years training to get there. So that really doesn't cut it, all right? Because we're talking about getting rich quick, okay? So really the only way to get rich quickly is to start your own business. Because when you start your own business, you can choose how much you pay yourself. And if your company earns more profit, that profit doesn't go to other shareholders and isn't given to you because you're an employee. You own the company, so you can choose how much of that profit to take home and how much to reinvest. Now, this won't be for everyone because, some people, they'll find it too hard, their skills aren't right, they'd be better off working for someone else. But those who have the ability to do this and have the drive, this really is the only way you can increase your pay very, very quickly. And I'll give you an example. For my company, Generations Media LLC, we own this YouTube channel, the Credit Shifu YouTube channel, and a few other businesses that we do. And I increased my pay 50% from my 2017 tax return to my 2018 tax return. So that's a 50% increase in the amount of money I earn. And that comes from running your own business. And the following year, I expect 2019 will be another, maybe not a 50% increase, but maybe a 30% increase on top of that. There is no job out there that will give you a 50% and then, maybe 30 or so % increases year on year. The only way you can do it is to run your own company. And then you can have enough money that you can then invest that in other companies and have a sizable portfolio to give you stock dividends or bonds or whatever you're after, okay? So the ultimate get-rich-quick scheme, apart from the lottery, really is to run your own business. And this has been kind of just like a motivational video, really. We're not going into any of the technical specifics of it, but it's a motivational video to get everyone inspired about running your own business. So, like I said, I have to warn you, it's not for everyone, but those of you who do have the drive to do it, it is a pretty good way of increasing your pay fast if you have a solid business plan and you're in an industry that's having growth, etc. So guys, what do you think of this video? Please leave your comments below. If you'd like to see another video going into detail about the 10,000 hour rule, I'd really like to do that, so I want to see if there's interest. As always, please subscribe if you're new, give this video a like, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.